it going, fam? It's Erica with Not Your Average EDC, and today we are going to do a really fun video that I've been wanting to make for a while. Haven't had time, but today we are going to talk about what I use my knives for on the daily. I did this a pretty long time ago, and I wanted to make a new, updated version because my job is different now, my living situation is different, so I figured I'd make an updated video on where and when and how I use my knives. And I also just wanted to show you guys this little beauty here today with this cute little lanyard on it. I've been obsessed with this style of knot lately, and granted, I'm not doing these myself, my friend is, but I just think it looks so nice. So I just wanted to show you guys real quick in case you want to try this knot on any of your pocket slips or knives or gear, flashlights. But I think it's called a hangman's knot, maybe? Or a noose knot, something. I don't know. Randy Johnson used to do these a lot on his gear, and I'm obsessed with them, and I just think it looks really nice, so I wanted to show these off. Also, I'm very sorry for, like, this weird lighting that's also blinding me as I speak. It's raining out, and it's very dark, and the camper doesn't have good lighting, and I'm using, like, this cheap ring light thing that I don't know how to use. So, I'm blinding myself currently, but we're just gonna go with it. So, cool little lanyard knot that you may want to try out. I have a whole bunch of stuff with these lately, and I just think it looks really nice, so I wanted to show those off. Like, this looks really good, in my opinion. But, yeah, been enjoying these lately. Man, I feel like my pupils look very small with this lighting. Ooh. That's creepy. Look at how creepy my eyes look. They look like ghost eyes. What the fuck? Ugh, sorry. Okay, let's get back on track here. So, what do I use my knives for every day? Well, a lot of things. So, my knife usage basically starts the moment I wake up, surprisingly. So, as you guys know, I have 4 dogs. I live in a camper out in the middle of nowhere. We have no running water, barely any electricity, no Wi-Fi, no plumbing. We have to use an outhouse. There's nothing. So resources are very scarce. It's a lot of, like, you're using tools and your brain all the time out here, basically. It's kind of like survival mode in a sense. So, yeah, the moment I wake up, I feed my dogs, and they eat a raw food diet, so it's a lot of, like, meat and bones and organs and stuff like that, so I'm always using a knife to process those types of things, and, you know, separate turkey necks and cut up chicken for them, and, you know, processing whole birds and whole rabbits and stuff, and, I definitely use my knife for that. And then I order them these, like, 5-pound tubes of raw food that you have to cut open and split between the dogs. So lots of knife usage, excuse you, early in the morning. But also, after I feed them every day, they get these little guys, and this is called a TDC heart. And basically, this is a little gelatin heart filled with a proprietary blend of fatty acids from bovine, from a cow. And you cut the tip of this off. You cut that little tip off with a knife. So I actually end up using my Swiss Army knife for that. Typically, I'll use this little tiny blade. And I cut the tip off of that. And then you actually squeeze out the fat from this little heart, and you rub it on your dog's gums, and basically it does 2 things. It helps immensely with, like, gingivitis and plaque buildup and stuff, and it keeps their teeth super clean without having to brush them. It kind of just eats away at all the bacteria, and then also it's a joint supplement, so it gets absorbed through the gums, and it helps to support their joints and healthy tissue buildup and all that good stuff. So these little guys are godsends. I get them through my wholesale lady that I get the raw food from, but they get one of these every single morning. I put it on their gums, and then they eat the capsule because it's just gelatin, but you have to use a knife to cut that tip off because you can't twist it off very easily. So like I said, right off the bat, right when we wake up, we're already using our shit, which is cool. It's kind of fun. But, yeah, you know, cutting open the feed bags, cutting open their raw food and those plastic tubes that it comes in, separating raw food, cutting up meat. Definitely using my knife for that. And you may be asking, like, why don't you just use your kitchen knife? Because honestly speaking, when we moved into the campers, I got rid of a ton of stuff, including a lot of my, like, kitchen cutlery that I didn't need. And, like, I do have some kitchen knives, but I tend to just use, like, my pocket knife, especially because it helps with the testing that I do. I think it's really cool to be able to process game and poultry and stuff like that with a knife and be able to report that at the end of the testing. So then, you know, moving forward, getting ready for the day, getting ready for work, I usually use my knives for my own food as well. Like, I'll have one designated knife that I do, like, the dog food with so that I don't, like, get yuckies on my own food, and I wash them, but, you know, just to be safe, I'll typically have, like, a knife that I use for myself. This is actually a poor example because I wouldn't use an Emerson to process food for myself. More like something like this. So I'll typically have something a little thinner and a little slicier for my own stuff for cutting up produce and apples and oranges, and the meat for myself. I'm on a pretty strict diet, so I'm doing kind of like a carnivore diet where I'm eating basically no carbs and just like meat and a little bit of fruits and veggies. So I typically have a knife for myself on myself for my steaks and my hamburger and my food processing, especially for at work, because I'll typically bring stuff like that to work with me. So I have something like this GEC bullnose or a different Sebenza dedicated to that type of stuff for myself. And I think it's cool to use something like this as well because it'll build up a patina cutting through like the steaks and the, you know, the acid in fruit and stuff like that. So yeah, I use one of these for my food processing. That is not the right way. Okay. And then obviously, like, here at the homestead, at the campers, there's always stuff to do. There's always things to use your knives with. I live out in the middle of nowhere in the woods with, you know, no resources really. So, projects around the camper, opening up packages of, you know, hardware for working on the campers, or installing lights and propane tanks and building things on the side of the camper. I mean, there's just always stuff to use your knives for here out in the woods, out in the middle of nowhere. And then when I go to work, if you guys don't know, I work for a nonprofit organization called Operation Delta Dog, and basically we choose dogs from high kill shelters down south, and we actually ship them up here to New Hampshire, rehabilitate them, and then train them to be service dogs for veterans with PTSD and MST and TBI, stuff like that. So, and it's at no cost to the veteran, but yeah, we take these dogs from down south and we turn them into beautiful little helpers for our veterans that have, you know, served us so well, and they deserve it. So that's what I do for work. I work, you know, 40 hours or more per week, and at work, I actually use a knife a decent amount. I'm not hard using my knives like I used to when I was in blue-collar jobs. You know, I've almost always had blue-collar jobs where something like this was, like, absolutely a necessity for me. This is, you know, completely overkill now for what I do. But I use a knife pretty often at work. I mean, if you think about it, we have typically 6, 7 dogs in the building at all times. You can only imagine how much food they eat. So, constantly opening bags of dog food. We get many, many very gracious donations from places like Chewy.com and Amazon, and organizations that send us toys, food, bones, hygiene products, all of this stuff for the dogs. So there are constantly packages coming in that need to be opened, things that need to be processed, treats, all of this stuff. So again, I get to use my knife a lot at work because we are getting stuff sent in for the dogs all the time. They eat a lot. It is what it is. So I actually get to use my knife like a decent amount at work for that kind of thing. And then even breaking down all of that stuff to fit into the dumpster or into the recycling bins, I like to cut up the cardboard. Like, breaking down the boxes and just folding them up, it actually takes up way more room than like cutting all of the cardboard up and like fitting it into the recycling bin. So I get to use my knife a lot for that type of thing, just breaking down tons of cardboard and packaging and trying to fit it into that recycling bin for the dump to take care of. And then yeah, you know, I get home, and I get home at like 11 o'clock at night because I work B shift, but I don't really use my knife, you know, at midnight. I'm not like a gremlin staying up until midnight to turn into a freaking monster. I typically just go to bed, but yeah, I repeat the same thing the next day, but I get to use my knives a lot, which is really cool. I love that I have a lifestyle and a job and hobbies where knives are a huge part of it. Like, I could not make it through one day without a knife. And, you know, a lot of people will be down in the comments like, how do you use your knives that often? Like, I have to search for tasks to use my knife for, and I do. And, you know, it just boils down to lifestyle. I have a very active lifestyle. I've always been into like homesteading and being independent and having hobbies where I use tools and move my body and stuff. So I really am actually using my knives all the time because I've just built a lifestyle for myself where I use them. And I don't have to go searching for tasks to use them. I just genuinely have a lot to do with tools, not only knives, but other tools. I mean, hell, even at night, like letting the dogs out for their last potty, it's 9:50 at night. It's very dark out. So what would you use? A flashlight when you let the dogs out? You gotta have a flashlight, otherwise you can't see. And there's like a massive population of coyotes where I work. Like, it's like a cul-de-sac and there's a bunch of rabbits, so there's tons of coyotes. So, you know, it's just safe to have a flashlight and things on you to protect yourself where I work. So yeah, I'm constantly using my gear. I'm using it all the time. And if you're someone that wants to get into the community and wants to use your knives and stuff, sometimes you just have to create a lifestyle or find hobbies or, you know, build your life in a way where you can move your body and work with your hands and use tools and stuff. Like, even if you're working a typical 9-to-5 job at an office desk where you don't use your knife at all and you're just fidgeting it, like, maybe get into a hobby or something where you could use your knives, you know? Maybe get into fishing. If you have bodies of water around you, maybe get into fishing or hunting. You know, you can start getting into hunting, get a hunting license, learn how to shoot, learn how to hunt, and use your knives to process game. Even if you have a property where you have pests, where you have squirrels or, you know, rodents that cause issues, instead of like setting poison traps, which I genuinely do not believe, and I think it's, you know, severely inhumane. Instead of setting traps like that, you can use like a pellet weapon. We don't typically like to use the G word on the channel because YouTube doesn't like it, but something with pellets in it maybe, or some type of something that shoots things that can just take the animal out. Teach yourself to have the skill to actually do that, and you can process those small animals. And yeah, you know, I'm just trying to throw out ideas out there where you could use knives. Just create an environment where you can use them. Find hobbies where you can use them, you know? Maybe get into mechanics. You can always use tools when you're doing mechanical work. Go out for a hike and cut up some apples and sausage for yourself on a picnic. And go out and whittle some sticks and make a little fire and, you know, roast stuff and use a knife to whittle a stick. Like, there are plenty of ways, guys, to use your tools if you want to. It's so fun to collect them, but it brings it to a whole nother level of enjoyment and fulfillment when we're actually using them and seeing what they're capable of. So if you're having a hard time finding out ways to use your knives, just maybe create some hobbies for yourself where you actually can use them. You know, I'm huge into hiking. I love hiking. I live in the woods. I've always been an outdoorsman. So like for me, I use a Swiss Army knife every single day. And it's so fun to just like bring a couple of dogs out into the woods, sit down, whittle something, you know, have a little lunch out there. It's pretty easy to find ways to use your shit, you know? So yeah, just something to think about. I use my knives all day, every day. Like I said, I'm not hard using them like I did when I was in construction or landscaping or doing commercial mechanical work in a warehouse or production work like that. Like, I'm definitely not using my knives nearly as hard as I used to, but I'm absolutely still using them. It's still a pleasure. I still hard use my knives in my personal life because I have plenty of reasons to and stuff like that. Plenty of tasks and jobs, but yeah, just have fun with it, you know? Have fun with it. It's so fun to actually use your knives. It takes this whole hobby to a totally different level when you're actually using these tools for what they were built for. And I just hope to share that pleasure and enjoyment with other people. So hopefully that kind of helps you guys get some ideas of where and when and why you can use your knives. But yeah, as always, guys, I love you guys so much. Go use your shit. Learn how to sharpen your knives. Find ways to actually use your tools. And I will see you guys on the next video. I love you very, very much. And again, I'm sorry for this, like, very odd lighting. I'm literally blinding myself, but sorry for the lighting. Sorry for the creepy green, gray eyeballs. I love you guys very much. See you on the next video.